So it has been formally announced. Unified light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev will be coming to London on January the 28th to defend his titles against WBO mandatory Anthony Yarde. Fantastic fight. Let's talk about it. I'm super excited. I'm so glad this fight has been rescheduled. We now have a date, we have a venue, and we can just count down the days. I'm very looking forward to this one. I'm so excited for it. I may even consider getting tickets. Yeah, it's that kind of fight for me. I'm super up for this one. Very enthusiastic. I love the styles of both guys. I've been watching them for many years. And yeah, this is just an amazing fight in my opinion. I don't want to get too technical in this video, but I figured I'd give my early thoughts on it, pretty much seeing as it's confirmed. Obviously, Anthony Yarde fought last night at the time of recording this video. And yeah, he was fighting a complete pie, just an absolute knockover job. But in terms, like I feel it's forgiven given that it was leading up to this. However, I do think it plays a role because just to touch on these guys, because I don't feel like I've really spoken much about this fight recently. I've touched on it briefly in a couple of live streams in recent months, but as I say, I want to give my early thoughts and kind of present my framing of how I perceive this fight, like an early prediction kind of thing. So with Yarde, as a fighter, I think he's fantastic. I think one of the most athletically gifted, probably I'd go as far as saying the most athletically gifted fighter I've ever seen. Like active fighter, that is. Anyone can go back and look at Roy Jones footage from the 90s, but I'm talking about active fighter right now. I think he is the most athletically gifted. And he's got some skill to go along with it. I feel like Tunde Ajayi has done a decent job and he actually deserves some credit. Though I feel like he's reached his limit in terms of teaching Yarde what he can teach him. For me, Anthony Yarde, as I say, athletically gifted, got some good skill of his own. I just haven't seen that much development since the Sergey Kovalev fight. And now I don't think, and I don't think many people hold this belief, but I don't think the Kovalev fight was any disgrace for Anthony Yarde. He was in Kovalev's hometown. Like, he wasn't just in Russia, he was in Kovalev's hometown. And I'll tell you what, Chelyabinsk isn't a nice place. But he went there, had all kinds of shenanigans going on around him, but he went in, had his mind on something, it was focused, tried his best and fell short. And a lot of people have their interpretations of why he lost that fight. I think he just lost to the more experienced man. He had a very good chance of beating Kovalev, but he didn't have the development fights leading up to it. Yarde's career has just been littered with absolute knockover jobs. He hasn't had learning fights. You could argue that if you take away the Kovalev fight, his only learning fight other than that was what? The Lyndon Arthur fight after that. And he lost that one. You know, I feel like Yarde did enough to get a draw, maybe a close decision, but he lost it. I'm not going to hold it against anyone who actually believes that he legitimately did lose it. But when I look at Yarde, I see some technical flaws. Yeah, there's some things that could be tightened up. Quite a few things that need to be dialed in. But I'm just not seeing the kind of sharpness that you get from fighting other top level guys. And it doesn't have to be world champion after world champion after world champion. After Yarde lost to Kovalev, he could have had more fights at domestic level. Maybe he should have had the Lyndon Arthur fight before the Kovalev fight, that kind of stuff. I know hindsight's 2020, but I feel like that is Yarde's biggest issue, is the bad matchmaking. Not because he's being matched too tough necessarily, it's because he gets matched easy, very easy, super easy fights. And I know there's always this rhetoric of, oh, there's no such thing as an easy fight because you never know what you're going to get. No, I don't believe that. If you look at the guy he fought last night, this guy was beating or going the distance with guys who were like, I don't know, 20 and 40 and stuff like that. A lot of the time, that's not a good fighter. That just isn't. That's just the nature of it. But Yarde's having fights like this and then going into these high stakes world title fights, I don't think that benefits him. Does it preserve him in some way? Yeah, sure, but he doesn't really get much momentum from it. Whereas someone like Beterbiev's up there in age, But as Hatman touched on, Beterbiev is relatively well preserved for someone of his age. He's really just been on the fast track, even though he has had to deal with some spells of inactivity himself. His fights have been more meaningful, even though he's had less. I believe he's had less. Isn't Beterbiev like 18-0, whereas Yarde's 23-2? I believe that's Yarde's record. So like 20-something fights. Yeah, so Beterbiev's well preserved, but he's got a wealth of experience from the amateurs and the pros. He's beaten both guys. Yeah, and it's just experience like that is just unrivaled. Is it the be all and end all in terms of guaranteeing you win a fight? Absolutely not. But it sets you in good stead, because if you look at Yarde in that Kovalev fight, he just didn't have enough wrinkles. He didn't have enough guile, whereas Kovalev did. So even though Kovalev had to deal with some crises in that fight, he had enough experience. He had enough know-how to work his way out of it and just chip away at Yarde over the course of the fight. A lot of people were saying how, oh no, Yarde only lost because his stamina's bad, and his stamina's bad because he's too muscular. You know, Andre Ward was saying that, and I get it. I get why, but that's just not a cop out, but it's just an easy dig, especially when you consider like Anthony Yarde. If you look at pictures of him when he was younger, he had the same build. This is not someone who spends a lot of time pumping weights. He's naturally, I'd go as far as saying he's genetically gifted. You know, he has the physique that most grown men want. He had that when he's a teenager. And if you want to challenge that, I have a close relative who went to school with Anthony Yarde. So, you know, I'm no stranger to him, I'll say that. Seen him in person many times over the years. And I'm talking like years. So, yeah, Anthony Yarde's always had that build. He's just naturally that way. Naturally very explosive. So I don't think he has that much weight to lose, if I'm being honest. But I don't think that's his issue anyway. I think his issue came from a lack of experience, not being able to pace himself, not being able to adapt as much as he had to. And Kovalev got the better of him. I suspect, early prediction, Beterbiev's going to be able to do the same. I think this is going to be a shootout while it lasts, but I think Beterbiev, he has firepower of his own. He has skills that he doesn't really get credit for. Is he like a Lomachenko or an Usyk? You know, he comes from a similar school of boxing as them? No. But he's got very consistent, very competent skills. And he doesn't have to... It's not like, okay, when he relies on his skills, he loses some power, because he's not one of these punchers who just has to force everything and get loads of forward momentum. Beterbiev is a naturally heavy-handed guy. So even when he's boxing and he's not putting everything into his shots, that's still dangerous shots to get hit with. And I think Yarde probably start fast. As I say, I don't want to get too technical, but I do think that the experience of Beterbiev will tell over the course of the fight. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this fight. I don't want to go in too deep. We've got a little while left until this fight, another 2 months and a bit. But yeah, Yarde, in my opinion, fantastic fighter, great athleticism, good skills, but he's a fantastic fighter in a division full of other fantastic fighters, and Beterbiev is one of those fantastic fighters. So it's a tough ask, but I love this fight, and I can't wait, as I say. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you agree with my assessment of this fight, or do you think it's a bit of a dud? State your case down below. You know, it's all about what you look for in a fight. For me, yeah, this fight is a great way to kick off 2023. I just hope that goes ahead. No hiccups, no pullouts, nothing like that. Because I think this will be a good one while it lasts. But for now, people, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll get back to you. But for now, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.